I'm Frick.
I'm Frack.
Okay, we're gonna dive into all of the chatter in the noise, how to quiet the noise that happens in your head, and when it's usually provoked. So we had a really good interview today with the founder of Pictionary, right, the creator of Pictionary, which was so great. And what Rob shared was about when he sold the company, how many people were coming about him, telling him what he should do, right? And I think that people should all over us all the time, and it's well intended, right? But oftentimes the advice that we're getting is from people who are not in our shoes, right? All the people that were talking to him didn't actually just sell their business, right? But they were also well intended to tell him what he should do. And I love the fact that he really quieted the noise in his head.
Yep.
And he took the time to say, I'm going to wait before I make any real decisions. And he just kind of like eased into just the release that there wasn't all the pressure that he actually sold the company. And he actually did nothing for over 2 years before he leaned in. The patience, right, to be able to do that. But the power really of being able to master the skill to quiet all the stuff that's going on in our head. And as business owners or entrepreneurs, you know how chatty it can get there. And I think it's part of a practice to kind of like mind dump. We've got some games in our vault.
It's kind of like that lottery curse, right? So, the lottery winners, or say somebody goes from high school or college from nothing to getting this huge multi-million-dollar 3-year MBA contract,
right.
And they're the savior of the family, basically. I mean, everyone's hopes and dreams have now just fallen onto the table in front of them. This is why all these lottery winners end up broke, right? They're getting a lot of noise. You should buy a big house. Don't forget to buy your mom a house. Buy the cars. Now you're flying private. Now you're wearing these kind of jewelry, and all this stuff. And the people advising you either have no experience, like you were saying, or they are people that make a living off of your living.
Yes.
And they're very happy to pull that money away from you, right? And so I found him so calming, and it was so awesome with what we see, in these newer entrepreneurs, where it's very easy for our kids and even ourselves to see, like, here's the car, here's the big house. This is the proof of my success. This is proves that I've been successful, right? Of course, we hear a lot of these huge, Facebook ad, funnel, Russell Brunson, businesses that have come out that they win these awards, but 90% of their money was in Facebook ads, right? They're actually negative after they pay people and do all these things. And so knowing who do you listen to? Who do you pay attention to? And you do kind of want to spend a little money,
Well, and I think this is where Gary Vee is so smart, in a lot of the quippets that he shares, right? Saying we spend so much money, time, and effort and resources to impress other people that we don't actually even like. Right. And so I think you can really fall in that trap of wanting to visually represent, something that you actually aren't. I will definitely say, over the evolution of my career, I never forget, I was really good friends with John Assaraf, and I remember having a conversation with him saying I ended up living in a home that I actually hated, because I thought, like, okay, well, I was at the top of my game. This is what I should do next. And I was like, oh my God, I freaking hate this house, right? But I can't stand this house. And people would come over and they'd be like, oh my God, your house is so beautiful. And I would feel so guilty, because I'm like, this is the most poorly designed house ever. Like, this house was not made for children. I was like, every one of my kids were like in a different area, were screaming all the time. Nobody was on the same level. And I'm like, I freaking hate this house. And so I think it's so easy to fall into the trap to start behaving, start believing, pushing yourself to acquire things because you want other people to validate, feeling like, oh my God, you've made it. Where the funny thing about it is, like, some of the best times that we've ever had is like nowhere, doing nothing, spending like no money, because it really becomes the company you keep. You get to the point where you really just don't care what anybody actually thinks, and you just kind of stay true to yourself. And I will say, we're talking about Rob Angel, right, was really this state of calm. Even though he was so young when he came into his wealth, and even all these years later, he really has such a really strong sense of himself. And I think that those are the people who are the most appealing to me anyway, are the ones who are so grounded and don't need all of the extra stuff, Gary's another one, right? Gary is Gary, right? And so that clarity of who he is, consistently who he is, really kind of living for himself and what has value for him and for his company and the people that he lead. I think that that's really a great equipment, because I think it is so easy to get caught into the trap of wanting things that really aren't your want. You want the things for other people to respond to you in a different way.
Or at what cost, right? And so, we have kids. And what's been really important to my husband and I to teach the boys, because, they have more than we had growing up, is that these things are nice to have, not need to have.
Yes.
And you need to always understand the difference between what's nice to have, your life should not get better or worse depending on whether you have this thing. Right. It's just in a better wrapping. The hoodie just has a better logo on it. It's the same hoodie, right?
Right.
And I like nice stuff, right?
Yeah.
You like stuff,
too.
we all like, but it's at what's the cost. And so we also found from talking to him, what was interesting is that, and we see this a lot, is an entrepreneur who has success young, is they start to wonder, was that a fluke? Right? Did I deserve that? People say you're so lucky, not understanding that any idea just to put yourself out there, it could be a terrible idea. There's so much risk, vulnerability, exposure, and hard grit behind that. And so he had a lot of people he knew that made a substantial amount of money at the same young age he did, and they immediately had to go validate themselves into a new business, just jump into something else because they didn't know what to do with themselves. And so I think it also comes back to knowing yourself enough, or wanting to take the time now to get to know yourself. What's interesting about him is he just talked about he's getting rid of all of his possessions. Everything except for art and a few things he cares about, and is moving to another country, because travel and living that lifestyle is what holds value to him. And so I think as business people, we love to not give ourselves any time for ourselves, because we're always working in the business and trying to take care of families and all these other things we're trying to do, is keep staying rooted in who we are and developing who we are, so that when we hit success or failure, right, we are still us. We still know who we are.
Yeah, I think that's so important. And we talk about, who you are versus what you do. Right? I am Amilya, and I'm very clear on who Amilya is, and what I do are the businesses that I own. But my identity is not tied into the businesses and my investments. I am who I am, whether I have those businesses or I don't. And that's been a practice that has happened over many, many years, because in the beginning, my identity was so tied to my business that when I sold the business, I was lost. I wasn't really sure who I was and whether I was enough, because I was so intertwined with the business. And so I think the thing that we love so much about our business is that we are who we are, and the business is part of one of many things we do. And I think that put up a healthier foundation. But I think that when you're new to entrepreneurship, you are really, really, really tied, and it becomes your identity. And I promise you, there will become a time where you really are going to have to pull it apart. And I think that the constant practice of self-awareness, right, self-discovery, and continual development, because your identity and what you care about and what you value changes over the years.
And we value this YouTube channel, right? This popped out of nowhere. This was on no list to do, but it's something that we enjoy doing.
It's on my list to do. It's on my list.
It's something we enjoy doing, and so we're going to keep doing this. And so that is part of what the journey we want to take you guys on, is also behind the scenes of the business we're growing, but how we're also building ourselves, stepping into what we want to do next in our lives, and take everyone on that journey with us as well, so that you can start building any of these practices that resonate with you into your life and your business.
And so there's a topic that you would like us to discuss, if I could speak. If there's a topic you would like us to discuss, or a question you have, please, please, please put it in the comments below, because we would love to be able to do a video for you.
Bye everyone. Thank you.